Welcome to another installment of the Unwatched pile. And yes, I am Stephen Billings, even though it doesn't look like Stephen Billings. I know I'm missing half my face. This time of the year stresses me out. I got my chill pill here.
Nice.
He'll keep me sane enough to get through the episode. But of course, Andrew Cabral helps me get through the episode. How you doing, man?
Doing good. I felt like I was just here streaming because I just was.
Yeah, well,
your
streams are so long, they last to the next stream.
They feel like, to be honest, it takes me a week to recover from them because they're so damn long.
Yeah.
I even cut this other one short. By short, I mean like I just didn't talk about everything.
Hey,
you're
starting to learn.
Once you hit that 2 to 3 hour mark, it wanes on you. Like you just get hit with that wave of fatigue in the middle of it. But that whole chill pill thing, that is such a 90s reference, I feel like, because I haven't heard anybody say that in like 20 years. Like, hey, take a chill pill. I used to hear that all the time.
Yeah, I don't think the new generation knows about the chill pill. But anybody that's still of our age, like 30 years or old, they know chill pill. And I got this as an early Christmas present. So
nice.
I keep it in a little glass case, nearby, so that I could, you take the little thing and go, pss, like what a fire extinguishers.
Yeah, like breaking case of emergencies.
Yeah, that's what I do. It just sits there, and it just sits in that case, and I'm gonna go put it back in the case now. All right. So of course we are here for another installment of the Unwatched pile. I believe this is number 19. It feels like we've done so many of these, but we've only done 19 apparently.
Right.
And of course this is monthly, so that's why it feels like we've done so much, but not really. But of course, if you've never seen us do this show or listened to us do this show, what it is a show where we dive into our collections, specifically our unwatched films in our collections. And I know that sounds weird to some people that, oh, you bought movies and you didn't watch them. Well, yeah, we're collectors. We collect things. And every time, just because we collect things doesn't mean, we have seen them all. You think all billionaires drive all the cars that they buy? No,
probably not.
They don't.
They don't even live in the houses they buy.
Yeah, exactly.
The cars they buy.
We're the billionaires of the collecting world, okay? Sometimes we buy stuff and it just sits on our shelves because we intend to watch them. And so that's what we're doing on this show. We're one by one getting some of them unwatched films out of the collection, dusting them off, watching them, coming here to discuss a little bit, and then pairing that film with a film that we have seen that is in our collections, to help give you a nice little double feature to pair, because who wants to watch one movie when they're, looking for stuff to watch? They got to watch 2 movies. And sometimes 3, if you're really just like feeling it that night. But yeah, so, also to pair with that tonight, since it's just me and Andrew, usually we have a guest, because it is right around Christmas time. Didn't want to try to push that and try to make somebody pop in on to do this show right near Christmas. And so it's just going to be me and Andrew. And so to fill in that extra time we have, we're going to talk a little bit about some of our favorite first time watches of this year, including new releases. Some of the new stuff that's come out this year that me and Andrew have seen, discuss that stuff a little bit and have fun with that. And yeah. What do you think? What do you think about what we're doing?
Sounds good. It sounds good. Yeah, usually this time of year is very hectic for people because you've got like 2 major holidays and New Year's, which is basically a third holiday now anyway.
So and football every Sunday.
That's also true. Yeah, it's a little crazy now. There's going to be like a bajillion games in the next week now because of sports is now basically live streaming on things now. Like Netflix has jumped in the game, Amazon Prime jumped in the game, literally, and it's going to be busy for people. We got Thanksgiving, we have Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, and then you got New Year's. a week later after that? So it's like boom, boom, boom. So we figured we would just do this thing solo, like we've done in the past, and fill in some time with some extra stuff.
Some extra goodies for Christmas. We've probably discussed this at some point in our vast amount of Chasing Labels podcasting. What is the go-to Christmas movie?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Every year, there's the usual staples. Charlie Brown Christmas.
What's the one? What's the favorite?
For me, it's Charlie Brown Christmas every year, at least. That and The Grinch. Either the original or the Jim Carrey one. I've gotten to the fact where I really like the Jim Carrey one now, and I watch it every year. So That's just
Right.
me.
Interesting.
I know. There's always an argument. People wrestle over these things.
Is there an? I thought the only argument was whether Die Hard was Christmas movie or not.
That's a big one.
That's the one that I get sick of fucking hearing.
Yeah.
And this is where I've gone to. We even did full videos on this shit before. We did one a long time, but I personally don't think it's a Christmas movie. But I'm okay with everybody else wanting that to be a Christmas movie. I don't agree, and I'm sure you could find an argument to beat me in it, but it's not going to be my Christmas movie. I don't watch Die Hard at Christmas. I like things that are more family oriented, and that's what their purpose is. A movie that's actually trying to have family message, not a movie that somehow around all the blood and guts is, you find a way to make it Christmas because there's some Christmas trees and some, there's a, they're getting back together at the end. That's like their family. It's not about that. Okay. Nobody watches Die Hard for that part of the movie.
This is one of your hottest takes ever for Jason
not
Davis.
Hot take. There's others that are with me.
You're not alone, though. You're not alone.
I'm not alone, but we are a minority apparently. But mine is usually Scrooged. I love the Bill Murray Scrooge film. It's just to me it's comedy gold. Also really like some of the newer things that have come out in recent years, like I like 8 Crazy Nights. You bring up, Hanukkah.
I like The Night Before. I watch that every year.
The Night Before is another new one I really like. I just actually watched the Jack Black one that just came out on Paramount Plus.
Where he plays like Santa Claus, right?
Well, Satan. He plays Satan.
Oh, Satan Santa Claus. You got it.
Well, so
the poster art confuses me.
Well, yeah. So the kid's trying to write Santa Claus, but he's dyslexic, so he puts Satan, and then of course he comes and pretends to be Santa Claus. But it's fun. It's directed by Bob Farley, one of the Farley brothers.
Yeah, but local people here from Rhode Island. They're from 2 towns away. Very interesting.
Yeah, but Peter went off to start doing Oscar movies. Bob's still doing the lowbrow comedies, apparently.
Yeah, I told you. I think Peter Farrelly and I went to the same college, so that's we're tangentially connected.
Yeah.
If you're listening, we're from the same place. Peter Farrelly. Well, we knew a lot of the early movies were set where I live.
Yeah.
So
a lot.
There's movies in our backyard.
Yeah, there's some big name filmmakers that went to the School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, which is right near where I live. I'm blanking on who, but there's a few pretty big prominent filmmakers that went there. I think Mick G went there. But there's like a better filmmaker than him that went there.
I understand what you're saying.
But yeah, with that said, let's get before we get into the show and start going into our first time watches. Let's Josephine's of course here. Josephine's jumping in. Hello, Andrew and Steven. New watches. Welcome or No Trespassing from 1964. Pale Rider. I've seen that one. Good one. Good Clint Eastwood film. The Hop Pickers or Green Gold. Above the Law, as in, is that the that's not the Steven Seagal.
I think that's the Steven Seagal movie.
No, if it's 1988, that can't be this. Is that when that came out?
I think so. He's quite old. He's quite
but
old.
That was in the 90s, wasn't it?
I'm gonna look. I'm on IMDb right now.
I think that's a different Above the Law, because I believe Above the Law didn't come out until like at least 92 or 93.
It's 98. It's at 88.
Really?
Yeah, Steven Seagal, Pam Grier.
Son of a bitch.
So
how old is Out for Justice? That was the first one.
Oh, gee. Let me look.
Because Out for Justice was like the first Seagal film, I believe. The first prominent one.
91.
So Above the Law was before that? I thought that was the first one.
Yeah.
I'm just, my whole world's been turned upside.
It's rocked.
Yeah, I can't finish this episode.
Can't do it.
Chill pill.
Yeah, you need a chill pill.
Right.
Speaking of the 90s.
Yeah, so and then some readings, a lot of Christmas books. Well, of course. I mean, it's that time of the year. Read The Angel Tree by Daphne
Brandeis
Grab. What a name. The Lady Holiday Concert by Andrew. Another Andrew Clements. And some other Christmas short stories.
That's interesting. Right. I don't think I've ever really read a lot of like holiday literature. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a Christmas Carol, Dr. Seuss.
I was gonna say
probably
I have a
stole
whole book of
Christmas.
classic Christmas
Yeah,
stories. Yeah.
there are classic stories and
Yeah.
things like that, but I don't think I've anything like a novel, like a long novel based on a holiday or something like that. I don't think I've really gotten into that. Um,
No. Well,
I
I don't
did,
get to
although
read it at all. So
although I did actually reach my reading goal for the year for the first time ever.
did you now?
Yeah, 35 books.
Awesome,
35
man.
books. I finished this past week.
Josephine's like, ha, ha, ha,
Yeah.
I did that last week.
You should see some people go on to Goodreads and see people's challenges, and some people read like hundreds of books a year. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you do it? How do you do it? That's wow. They must be smaller books. I have the penchant for reading
It must be
tomes,
small.
like 500 to 800 page books, which
Yeah.
is not the best to do if you're trying to complete a reading
Well,
challenge in a specific amount of time.
you should probably just pick things that you're interested in, not worry about the page length.
Well, that's the thing. The things I'm interested in tend to be long.
Oh, well,
So
then
it's like a double-edged sword.
stop
Like, for
doing
example,
that.
like a Stephen King book. Like
Stop doing
those
that.
those tend to be several hundred pages long.
Yeah.
Like
What
I
if
want
you're
to
what if you're reading a whole book of short stories? Does that count as each
does
short
that count
story
as
counts
one or does that count as many?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it all depends on how Goodreads, how you can find it on Goodreads. You know what I mean?
You got to talk with the community and figure that
The
out.
admins over there, I guess. Like, for example, I have a book of like Sam Shepard's plays that I want to read, but I'm guessing like that only counts as one book, but it has like, several plays in it.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
maybe like 4 short stories add up to one book.
Right. It's kind of like
maybe there's a ratio.
Like Stephen King has books of like short stories.
Yeah.
Like I think what's it called? Night Shift, I think is his book of like short stories in there. And I guess that only counts as one book. Because I guess it's like because it's all bound into one. I don't know how it
Who
rolls.
knows? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is a movie. This is a movie podcast.
Very true. Very true.
But let's do it, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into the unwatched pile this week. You know what? I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go first. Usually I go last, but since we're no guests this week, I'm gonna go first. So I decided to go with something a little bit more current. This film came out, I want to say last year. It might have come out last year. Might have finally gotten released in theaters. I think maybe early this year. But this is got one of my favorite all-time actors in it, Nicolas Cage. And it's close to his birthday. His birthday's next month, so we're doing a lot. We're hitting a lot of boxes here. But I don't. He has some movies lately you've been noticing actually get pretty good release. They're not just throwaways. This is maybe one of the more throwaway ones, but it actually turns out it's actually kind of solid, and that's a film called Arcadian. It's got him. It's got another actor in here that I think it's Jaden Martell, or maybe it's Maxwell Jenkins. I don't know which one it is, but he's a kid from another film that I've seen. God, what movie is it? What did I see this kid in? I think it was It. He was in It, I believe.
He was also in that movie Saint Vincent.
Saint Vincent. That's it.
The one with Bill Murray and Melissa McCarthy.
Yes.
He was also in Knives Out, and he's one of the kids from It.
Yeah, he's one of the kids from It. He's the one that plays the kind of the leader of the group. The one that has a stutter.
Yeah, he's Bill.
He's Bill, yeah. So he's in this. He plays one of the 2 twin sons of Nicolas Cage in this film. They're not identical twins, but so in this film, it's set in some kind of dystopian near future where something happens. Nicolas Cage has these 2 twin sons that he, at the beginning of the film, you see him kind of escape kind of a city that's under attack by something. And then he's out in kind of like the countryside with his 2 babies. And then it shoots 15 years later where he's been able to survive with it. His sons are, of course, 15. And now they're just surviving in this world where apparently when it gets to nighttime, these creatures come out at night that they have to, fight off. And as the movie goes through, you learn more and more about the creatures and what they're capable of, and you learn more. Of course, this is a survival story, and you learn more about it's a lot more about the interpersonal relationships between them and some other survivors that are in a nearby like a farmhouse. They're kind of in a farm like atmosphere area. And so the one son is kind of like wants to kind of go out and explore more. The one played by Jade Martell, and then the kid from It, he's very smart, very genius level type. He's like, working on machinery, working on things to maybe trap these creatures to study them more. He's been drawing pictures and things. So it's really about their survival, and about the thing. I don't want to say details because then that just gives away the story, because it's a very simple idea. It's a survival story. So telling any plot details would just give away the thing. So, but I thought it was a solid little, contained thriller. The creatures are actually pretty interesting design. And I think the way that the effects on them are used are, it's not like the greatest effects in the world, but it's like not terrible. And the way that they kind of light them, it kind of keeps them kind of in the shadows a lot. So they do it in a way that, makes it work. And like I said, the creatures are interesting. They don't give away too much, which I like. They kind of leave it up to your imagination a little bit. You're like, what the fuck is happening here? Why do they do that? How do they, there's like a scene where like these creatures roll up in a ball and like roll. And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
they're like the droids from Star Wars.
Yeah. Kind of like that. There's a shot.
Yeah,
there's a couple shots like that where these creatures do that. And you're like, what the fuck? It's a solid little thriller. Is it the best of its genre? Is it like, this is like part of the Quiet Place. When the Quiet Place came out, these type of movies really started popping up more.
Those
you could
movies
even say
seem to be hot now. They seem to be like, over the last few years, but there seems to be a revival of alien invasion movies,
but on a small scale.
Where like a group of survivors
or 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah,
that's another one. A big one. So a lot of it's kind of in that genre, and I think is this the best? No, but it's a solid one. Nick Cage is Nick Cage. He's not over the top in this. He's very subtle, playing playing the father figure, teaching his sons how to survive, and I wish there was a little bit more of him in the film, but I think it's still a solid watch. I'd watch it again. So
nice.
Yeah, that is Arcadian. All right, so let's go to Andrew. Tell us what you got.
So, switching to the other side of the cinematic spectrum, I guess. I have a Yasujiro Ozu film, and this is The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. And as you can tell, this is the Criterion release from a couple of years ago. I think this came out in 2019. This release, but this film is from 1952, and it's part of the oeuvre of the great Ozu. If you don't know who Ozu is, he is, I would say, one of the greatest filmmakers ever, or at least one of the most lauded filmmakers ever. He's right up there with such Japanese acclaimed filmmakers as Akira Kurosawa and people like that. But the thing with Ozu is he's very much the anti-Kurosawa, or the opposite of Kurosawa, in the sense that his films are very different. They're more personal, they're more intimate, they're smaller in scale, definitely. And he is very much a director who employs no flashy thrills when it comes to his filmmaking and comes to his storytelling. For example, this film is about a married couple and kind of the difficulties that they go through within their marriage, based primarily because it's within the traditional Japanese culture of the time. Like I said, this came out in 1952. If we're playing a little history game here, World War II ended in 1945, so you got that post-war kind of era of feeling where there's people who obviously took part in the war. There are people who were active within the military, or whatever. They've had loved ones that died during the war. You know what I'm saying? It's that post-war Japan, and people are kind of in that transitionary period of like, they grew up in the old Imperial Japan life, but of course now the modern world is upon them. How do they deal with that, and how is it specifically dealt with within a marriage? For example, things like arranged marriages are still a thing, or are a thing. Actually, they're still a thing today. Shouldn't speak too far in the past. But this movie is kind of playing on that idea. So you've got this married couple who are Mokichi and Taeko, and you get the feeling that they're from two different classes of society as well. So the film is playing on that thing as well. Like, how can two people within different class systems have an arranged marriage, and what does that consist of, and what kind of, you know, turmoil does that create? Because it does create a turmoil within the movie. Basically, they're kind of the opposites of people, and they're a middle-aged couple. They've been married for a few years, and their lives are kind of humdrum. This man is kind of just like a boring, dull middle management type of guy, and the wife is a traditional Japanese housewife. Taking care of domestic issues and things like that. But there's a rift between the two. There's a rift between the two because of this separation very much of gender and tradition within society, and there's a rebuff against it, and the rebuff against it is represented within a niece character who doesn't want to go the same route as her mother has gone through or her aunt has gone through with arranged marriages and being a traditional housewife and doing traditional things. She's very much the rebel against the old tradition within the Japanese society of all of those traditional norms. So she represents that, and she's kind of, the thing that divides them both because they're so radically different. And you've got like her, who's very much kind of a driving point between the two, because they argue over what she should do. You know what I mean? She goes to them, expressing her concerns. One has a different idea, the other one has another idea of how to handle it, and it's like it just shows those things. And when it comes to typical Ozu, he just does everything very matter of factly. Like
Mhm.
I said, not a lot of camera movement within his work. Although in this film, he moves the camera ever so slightly from time to time, and you don't even notice how subtle it is because you don't expect it. He likes to just let the characters in his films just play out within the screen. He likes to let his movies breathe. He likes
Yeah.
to let the story tell itself. You know what I mean? Just let the dialogue kind of tell the story of the characters and their relationships, body language, tone, things like that really inform us as viewers of how this plays out. And so the movie, while, taking place in 1952, taking place within a completely different culture, does, hit on a lot of certain themes when it comes to marriage and relationships and the dissolution of that, the kind of things that divide people within marriages and relationships. So it's rather contemporary in that regard. And I thought it was a really great film. It is a little long; it's 116 minutes, so you have to be patient with it. But it's definitely well worth it. And if you're a fan of Ozu, you know his style, you understand what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? You kind of have, it's an acquired taste. It's an
Sure.
acquired
Yeah.
taste. Whereas someone like a Kurosawa, I feel like you can watch any Kurosawa film, and probably immediately latch onto it. You know what I mean? But if you're viewing um Ozu, you kind of have to watch some of his stuff to get used to it. Coincidentally, this came out right before Tokyo Story. So, in Tokyo Story is kind of dealing with similar things like relationships and marriage and things like that. Late Spring is another one where it's all familial themes. You know what I mean? It's familial, humanistic themes, not so much larger world complications. You know what I mean? It's it's macrocosm within a microcosm type of framing. That's how I
Yeah.
like to view Ozu stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, and I mean, you might know this. I don't know, but his stuff plays well as I think would be do well on stage
Hmm.
because it is almost like play like a lot of his stuff. I wonder if that's a thing. I wonder if they do Ozu films and translate them to
What
plays.
is very interesting is that you mentioned that is that within the movie, they go to a kabuki theater
Yeah.
and they view kind of a kabuki play and stuff like that. And what's interesting, it is very stagey.
Yeah.
Typically, I was watching. There is a let's see. There's a new documentary on here, but there's a video essay by film scholar David Bardwell who talks a lot about Ozu's style and how a lot of his movies are set around, like in people's homes, specifically at a dinner table or a table of people eating. And that's pretty much as stage as you can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just two people sitting at a table talking. You don't get much more stage play than that. And he likes to go to that a lot. And what is interesting that the conflict in this movie is kind of staged around like a dinner table and people eating and stuff like that. Um but yeah, you're right. You're right, Stephen. That's very much interesting. I can't remember if Ozu has a background in theater.
No, I don't know.
I would have to look that up.
Worth looking into. But yeah. I mean, it sounds like something. I mean, like I've watched a few Ozu films, and yeah, he is somebody you have to be in a certain state of mind to be. It's just like somebody like him or somebody like Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
Like
Ironically, I'll going to watch Tarkovsky's The Mirror last night, but I'm like, that's a
dude,
heavy movie to watch at like midnight. Ozu. The thing is, what's interesting is that Ozu's not heavy. If anything, he's the opposite of heavy, but he'll lull you to you know what I mean? Whereas Tarkovsky will just obliterate your mind. Ozu's the opposite. Like he'll just lull you into a daze because his movies are just so laid back.
yeah.
Very much something like a Jim Jarmusch, like if you wanted like a more modern comparison.
It's I mean, like I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's like how reading can put you to sleep.
Mm.
You could be, even if you're into the book, I mean, like when you have to focus that much on what you're watching, it can kind of daze you because you're so like locked in because
Immersed. You know what I mean?
you're immersed, you're locked in, you have to be hanging on the every word, and it causes you have to pay attention more, which can then kind of make you tired. I mean, but yeah, I mean that's why they call it challenging cinema. As it is simplistic stories, but it's challenging cinema because it's
because the way in which it's presented is
yeah,
not typical to what we see in a lot of
it's
cinema.
closer to real life. It's
Very
close.
much so. You almost get a voyeuristic type of approach to it as a viewer.
Yeah,
Because you feel like you're within these people's homes. And of course, if you're not Japanese or if you don't have any familiarity with Japanese culture, a lot of this can feel, unfamiliar to you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like certain concepts, certain traditions within their culture is a lot different than what we experience here in our world. And even just time frames, 1952 is a lot different than 2024 in many regards. In
yeah,
many regards.
yeah, for sure. All right, awesome. Yeah, Ozu's a staple of Criterion Collection, so yeah, that's one place to start.
Yeah. If you want to get into Ozu, honestly, probably start with his earlier stuff. Don't do what I do and like start with like his great stuff.
Yeah.
Like Tokyo Story is kind of a very challenging.
I believe
movie.
there's an early Ozu set that's in the
there's
the
like too early. Like he goes back to the silent era. Like that's how long Ozu goes back to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get into Ozu, get into his earlier stuff and then kind of build up that way.
Yeah. All right. Before we head back to me, Humboldt Horror Honey's coming in late. Says hi everyone, and says great stash, Stephen.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
I did this. Not I made a joke at the beginning that I was so stressed out, my beard hair fell out, but that's not why. So it was my brother's birthday. He is a police officer, and I told him that I did this for him so I could be more like him. Because cops, have their stashes.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Feels like an old school thing, but I guess
no, it's modern.
Not. But I guess that's not.
I can tell you this right now: the stash thing is back in style. Like young kids are wearing the stash again.
What is interesting is that mustaches. And we talked a little bit about like '90s mustaches were kind of big back then. I remember being a little kid and like everybody had them. Like my dad had a mustache when I was little.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but I'm just saying, I guess everybody had one back in the day.
Yeah. It used to be a fashionable thing, but look, I'll tell you this now. This was not something I did because I thought it would look good. I don't have a lot of definition in this area. I don't have a good chin or jawline. So the beard is something I usually keep like 95% of the year.
I'll say, yeah, for as long as I've known you, I've only seen you clean shaven a handful of times.
Yeah.
I've known you for like 8 years now.
Yeah.
I've only seen you a handful of times.
I did this for some a few reasons. I did this because of the birthday thing, my brother's birthday. I did this because it's nice to have some wind on your face every once in a while when you know, and get some real moisture to your skin, because it can get dry under there. Even with moisturizers, it can feel a little itchy under there. But and then I did it for my wife because she likes she don't mind the beards, but she had she just got a new hairstyle, a new hair. She did some stuff with her hair, and I felt like she was a little disappointed with it. So then I shaved my beard and said, we'll be insecure together.
Nice.
So I did a little romantic thing.
Nice. Very much in lockstep with one another. Very nice.
Yes. So she won't feel alone. But all right. So so if you're coming in late, this was my pick. Arcadian is my first time watch. And so I had the challenge of, it wasn't really a challenge. There's a lot of movies that are in this genre, like I said, but I didn't want to go obvious. You know me, I don't want to go obvious. And unfortunately, I don't have the example with me because I could not find it in my collection. I know I have it. But I'll tell you what the movie is, obviously. And then Andrew can run and find it in his collection and be like, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go somewhere that was kind of similar, but also like, some similar themes, but also kind of give you some of the same vibes. I paired that movie with M. Night Shyamalan's The Village.
Ooh.
So if you know what M. Night Shyamalan's The Village is, it's a film set in like early settlement times, and you have this group of settlers in this forest area, and they are living that life. And then, we hear stories about that there's creatures in the forest that, there it is. There's the village. And so, yeah, it's got a folk horror aura to it. There's these creatures in the forest that, and so there's this whole like kind of counts of elders that are in the group that kind of started this settlement. And they kind of hold all the secrets to the place. And, one person, people were there's been some sicknesses, there's been some deaths, and Joaquin Phoenix is in the film, and he wants to go to the other nearby towns to get different new medicines to help with the sicknesses. And so before he gets a chance to, he gets stabbed and is fighting for his life when he's stabbed by Adrian Brody, who plays a kind of mental handicap person of the town. And with that, we also have the character played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who is a blind girl who is very smart, very curious, and her and Joaquin Phoenix kind of have a thing going. It's a little loose, but basically, after Joaquin Phoenix gets stabbed, he needs medical attention. Bryce Dallas Howard then is sent out to go to the towns to get help. And so I can't really say anything else. There's way more.
Don't give away too much. With Shyamalan, you don't want to give away.
Yeah, you can't. But I'm sure most people have seen this movie. It is a pretty Shyamalan's a pretty popular director of our time. Most people have probably come across all these films, but if you haven't, I don't want to say too much, because if you know anything about him, the twist is the thing. Like especially his early work, the twist is what he's all about. So there's a twist to the story that really kind of changes your perspective on what the movie is, what the movie's about. And I guess I can't really talk about why I feel the movies connect as a good double pairing without spoiling it in a way.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can connect them because there's like this,
sense of isolation.
Yeah. There's sense of isolation. And there's also this external threat that's part of the central mystery of it all.
Sure. There is a monster that is in the forest that keeps them at bay. They can't, quite live a full life because they're kind of kept at bay by these potential enemies in the forest. Just like in Arcadian, there's these creatures that come out at night that keep them from being able to, do their thing. So, but there's an extra element to the kind of themes of grief, and other themes of like humanity that's in the village that I think kind of pairs with Arcadian a little bit, because I think any film about the end of the world, when other humans are trying to survive, they always end up coming across other humans that are also trying to survive, and then kind of clash. You know what I mean? Just like The Walking Dead, the whole fucking show of Walking Dead is about how humans are the Walking Dead, not the actual zombies. It's the people that are they're just a matter of time, and they're all fighting each other. You know,
Coincidentally, that reminds me of, remember George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, the one from the 70s?
Yeah.
There's a sequence in that movie where, because it takes place in a mall, where there's just gang of humans like attack the mall of the survivors in it, and at that point you're like, man, humans are worse than the zombies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're awful.
They're just they essentially have just become mindless animals that are just trying to eat.
Yeah, they're the monsters now.
Yeah.
You know,
but humans have the ability to make choices, and so I think that there's a little bit of that in there. There's a little bit of this idea of discussing humanity and like what we do when we're pushed to our limits. That is always a theme of films of this genre.
Right.
So I think that they connect in that way, and I think also that the kind of contrast of how the creature plays an element to both of these stories makes for an interesting double feature.
Right.
So,
what is interesting about The Village is that currently it is the only M. Night Shyamalan movie that does not have a Blu-ray release. Everything else
weird.
does.
Because his other ones have recently gotten 4Ks.
Yeah, and then recently a bunch of his movies are getting 4K releases. Like Signs just got it.
Is it because this is Miramax? Is this a Miramax movie?
Is it a Miramax movie? No, it's not. It's a Touchstone, which
also then it's a Disney movie.
Yeah, so it's a Disney thing.
That's
but
why.
Thing is, Unbreakable got a 4K in their Disney.
It did.
You know what I mean? So there's nothing. I don't know what the deal is. I know that when M. Night was doing the press run for his most recent film, Trap, I think they asked him about it, and he said that he's working on it.
Okay, good.
He said that he's currently working on, putting, I'm assuming 4K now.
Yeah, it has
because this DVD has been around probably since, because the movie came out in 2004. I'm assuming the DVD came out around that time. So this is a 20-year-old disc. It needs some help.
And it's a beautiful movie. Roger Deakins is cinematographer on it.
Yeah, it's Roger Deakins right there.
I mean, one of the greatest cinematographers of our time is
I would
on
totally agree.
cinematography on this film, and it's got an amazing cast. Sigourney Weaver, William Hurt,
Adrian Brody, you mentioned.
Joaquin Phoenix.
I think this was after Signs, I think.
This is after Signs, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were retaming afterward. Interesting pairing. I like that pairing.
You got to see Arcadian, but based off what you've heard,
But just based off of the way you described Arcadian, it feels like, that there are links between these two movies, between Arcadian and The Village by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Shall we transition into my pairing?
Please, sir. Please do it.
Then.
Before we do,
yes.
My story was cute, apparently.
It was indeed. Speaking of which, I mentioned Humboldt Horror Honey on the previous episode of Chasing Labels because in the previous episode she had mentioned that Cauldron Films was releasing an announcement on Black Friday, and they did. So I talked about it in this recent video. So that reminded me about Humboldt Horror Honey. So Cauldron Films is releasing a Lamberto Bava like late 80s box set.
Yeah.
So I thought that was rather interesting that they announced that on Black Friday. There was a lot to pick up with on Chasing Labels.
We'll bring it up again. We'll bring it up again at the end, but just in case, just so I don't forget it, me and Andrew will be back. This is the last thing I think we're doing for the year. Is that right, Andrew? You're not going to do another Chasing Labels?
No, there will be no Chasing Labels. I mentioned it a bunch of times on the most recent episode that that was the last one for the calendar year, and I'll be back. I think January 6th is the first Monday in January.
Okay.
But Steve and I will be reteaming. I mentioned it then as well. We will be reteaming for like our favorite releases of the year list of stuff. So we will be reteaming for that sometime.
That'll be a separate video, other than Chase. It'll be a separate Chasing Labels video, just that.
Right.
So.
Right. We got to gather our resources together, and because it was quite a year for 2024 when it came to releases. Um,
Yeah.
just a gargantuan year of great stuff. I see some people now on YouTube doing their list, and I'm like, oh yeah, that came out. Oh yeah, that came out. I was looking at stuff from like January that had come out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that seems like forever ago.
Yeah, I got to get my list together. I got to start looking at my collection, start figuring out what I'm going to do, man. It's
I got to start
now we're not last year
organizing things.
we did a pretty grand version of this. We're not going to do that this year just cuz I don't got time to get that minutiae, but last year we did it in the style of Shelf Shock Rewind, where we did each category and like talked about some of our favorites of each
I think
category.
this will be more straight up.
This will be just straight up this year, yeah,
yeah,
because
just a straight adrenaline shot to the heart.
yeah. Just favorite releases in general. So,
sounds like a good idea.
yeah.
But my pairing for where did I put it? For the flavor of green tea over rice, the Ozu film.
Which does it have? Do they actually do that? Do they like put green tea on rice?
Yes. I didn't want to say it, but there is a moment in the movie where they come together as a couple to kind of hash out the differences of who they are and things, and they have green tea over rice.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what's interesting is the climax of an Ozu film is two people eating rice at a dinner table.
That sounds right. That sounds
right.
That sounds about right.
And they acknowledge one another about like their differences, and that each of their differences are not necessarily negative things.
Yeah.
He's more of a kind of a traditional like man who likes simple things in life, and she's more from an upper and a higher class of people. That's why I mentioned the whole class system, and she prefers like other things in life, like things that are simple as like he likes to travel like in the back of a train as where she likes to be in front of a train, like first class versus third class. You know what I mean? He likes to like eat his food very quickly. She likes to take her time while eating. Like it's those humanistic type of differences that are kind of, you know, things that are in relationships. Those are the small things in relationships that kind of can blow up to bigger things.
That's social. That's economical differences.
Especially when you're going to be married to someone, presumably for the rest of your life, you're going to have to observe these day-to-day little things that can make or break a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But speaking of relationships, my pairing is going to be Before Midnight, the third film in the Before trilogy.
I could have said something. Okay, so before you get into it, my pick was the second film in the Apu trilogy.
Ooh.
I thought that sounded like very similar, like because it's that middle movie where Apu's grown up a little bit, or not. Maybe I'm thinking the third Apu movie where he's grown up and then he has to get that arranged marriage. That's what I was thinking about as a pairing.
Yes, because the second one is when he's
a little older.
He's like a young adult in the second one. He's trying to figure out his life. His first film, the first film in the Apu trilogy, actually you don't see him until like back half of the movie. It's mostly about his sister, but the second film is him as a young adult trying to figure things out. And they moved to like the big city. I think they moved to Bengal. And then the third film is the one where he's got to deal with adulthood.
He has an arranged marriage, and then and that's what made me think about this movie. But this is a great pick.
Yeah, and the reason why I chose this is because out of the three films in the Before trilogy by Richard Linklater, which has been put out on Criterion on Blu-ray, the third film is the one that deals specifically with a relationship that has been long-standing. It's a relationship that's gone on for many, many years, and those are the times that are probably the most difficult. The two earlier films within the trilogy deal with the initial first love, the initial meeting, and then the flourishing of those feelings. It's the toughest time in relationships, I think, is when you've been with somebody for so many years, like the couple in Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. They've been married for several years, and that's when the erosion starts happening, the rough years, if you will. That's when the things are tested the most. And within Before Midnight, without going into too much detail within it, you have the characters of Jesse and Celine, whom you've seen fall madly in love with each other in the first two films, and now they're about decade or more into their relationship, and things aren't all as rosy as they were before. and you just see the divide within them. You see the ferocity of, their relationship, the passion within it in a negative light, which you hadn't quite seen before. And this film, while very different culturally than what Ozu was doing, you still get to see that regardless of where you are in the world and whichever culture you're from, human relationships are very complicated, very difficult to hold for a very long amount of time, regardless of how passionate that love may initially be. I mean, I think there's a reason why the divorce rate is still 50%, and it's been 50% for decades now. You know what I mean? There's a difference why, infidelity is a thing and people jumping around to other relationships throughout their lives and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to withhold a monogamous relationship for decades upon decades. But this film, the way in which Richard Linklater goes about it in his typical Richard Linklater fashion is it's just two people a la Ozu talking and arguing and having it out with one another. And you can see the divide just play out on screen. You know what I mean? Richard Linklater, at least in these films, it goes for that no frills filmmaking where it's just dialogue heavy based. And that's what these movies have really, leaned on heavily. And in this film, you really see these two characters have the biggest heart to heart with one another. And it gets uncomfortable if you're watching as a viewer. But it's also very real because you probably have encountered people in real life who have these very open arguments and have these very open, contentious relationships. And the film very much explores that. So so that's why I paired it up with it, just because it has that at the core of it, it's relationship. Ozu is kind of tackling it from a Japanese cultural perspective, while Linklater is tackling it from a more humanistic, personal perspective on a very smaller level, but still dealing with macrocosm type of themes and things like that. But yeah, I really love this trilogy. I think it's one of our favorite trilogies, Stephen. I don't
Oh
mean
yeah.
to overstep
No,
and tell you what you think or not think.
no, you're right, man. We're both Linklater fans, so yeah, for sure. It's, I mean, when a trilogy is actually a trilogy and nobody keeps making movies after the trilogy's done, it's definitely one of the best trilogies.
Yeah.
um,
The most recent film was 2013, and we're now in 2024.
yeah, there was some whispers that they were going to try to make another one, but now that the time's passed, and I think it's okay that this was the last movie because it
Mm,
really encapsulates kind of the prime years of this relationship. Now, maybe they could wait 18 years,
mm.
instead of, because the way this series was what, every 9 years, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was like 94, 2003, and then 2013,
yeah,
right? I think that's
yeah,
how it rolled.
yeah.
Um,
So
or was it like 95 to '04? Either way, you know what I'm saying. It's like a
yeah, yeah,
decade. It's like a decade,
yeah.
basically.
They wait every 9 years to put out the next one. So
And you just kind of see where they are at that specific point of
yeah,
their lives. These two
yeah.
characters, played by Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, which I should have mentioned, and you see kind of where they are,
Yeah,
and
that's a
what's going
pretty
on.
big, and this is why Andrew talks about time all the time because he loves Linklater so much.
Yeah.
And a central theme of a lot of his films, especially lately, has been about the passage of time. Whether it's Boyhood, whether it's
Mm,
this, like he does filmmaking in an interesting way where he literally lets us go through the passage of time with the actors that are involved
mm.
in the projects. So,
Which is a very bold way of filmmaking because if you know the
well, it
way,
takes a lot of patience.
yeah, I was gonna say also like you've got to make sure that you have enough like funding and resources to do that, or else you just have a film that's incomplete. You just
Yeah, I mean,
wasted your time and
what
money.
he spent what, over a decade doing Boyhood. It was like
Yeah,
12 years.
it was like 20 years of this kid's life or something
Yeah,
like
it
that, or
was
18 years
12
or
years
something.
or something.
Maybe it was 12. I think I'm
Yeah,
going way over the top. I think it was like 12 years, but
yeah,
still
yeah,
a long amount of time to keep checking in every year to that boy's life
yeah,
and to see where he, and to structure a story around that to keep that story consistent. You got to plan way ahead. Whereas the before trilogy is kind of just like, separate. Each movie kind of stands on its own, really,
yeah,
which is kind of brilliant. Like I go back and rewatch the first one all the time, and I could literally like just end it there.
yeah.
But obviously there's a second one. You
Everybody,
can end it
everybody's
after the second one. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean,
It's
like,
so
I mean,
finite.
like everybody's favorite usually is Before Sunrise, but honestly, I like the middle movie. I like
Yeah,
just the
Before
Empire.
Sunset though, I see way more people like that one.
Yeah,
It's shorter, it's consistent, and it ends. Ironically, I don't want to say how it ends, but you get to see these people at a different point of their lives where they're more mature now,
yeah,
and they've kind of lived a life, and to come back to one another in that moment, it's fascinating. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just fascinating because it makes you think of your own life. Like, is that possible?
yeah, yeah. It's good. Yeah, all three movies are really standalone. They all stand alone as great films, and
Hmm.
yeah, one of the best trilogies of all time
Yeah,
for
and if you're
sure.
curious about this box set, I did do a complete review of it on on the Chasing Labels YouTube channel at one point years ago. So that is on there somewhere within our archives if you want to check that out. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up re-releasing this in 4K in the
No,
next couple of years.
yeah,
Don't be surprised. Don't be
don't be surprised.
surprised.
They already did a few Linklater films, so
Well,
stay
just
tuned.
because the way in which Criterion seems to be operating now is that seems to be the case.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I got that feeling.
yeah.
Oh, I can still say I think Ozu will stay in the Blu-ray realm. I think that's a definite.
I don't think all films need 4Ks. So
No, but I'm just saying, just the way the trends keep going now when it comes to the boutique label world, which is what we talk about a lot here on Chasing Labels, is you're seeing a lot of those upgrades happen now from various outlets.
yeah.
Um, and Criterion is of no exception. That we just got an announcement last week, which we talked about on the most recent episode of Chasing Labels.
All right. Well, that is our unwatched pile pairings. I had Arcadian paired with The Village, and Andrew had what was the name of the movie again? It's a long
The
title.
the flavor of green tea over rice,
Yes,
paired
paired
with
with
Before Midnight, the
yes.
Richard Linklater third film in his Before trilogy.
Nice. All right. So now we're going to kind of wrap it up here. Me and Andrew are going to kind of go back and forth and talk about some of our favorite first time watches of this year, including some new release stuff.
Indeed.
Because they're technically first time watches. So yeah. I'll just bring up. I'm going to start closer to the beginning of the year. And just kind of work my way towards now. One of the first films of the year that I put on my letterbox that I got here is Dogs Don't Wear Pants.
Nice.
It's pretty high rated for me. This was I believe it's I want to say I was going to say Russian film, but I don't think it's Russian. I think it's definitely European. It might be French. But basically, it was about a dominatrix who is hired by this one guy who is like grieving the death of his wife, and he's like their relationship becomes very weirdly connected and complicated. Yeah, it was just kind of a very just interesting experience watching that film. It's got some interesting visuals, and I thought that was pretty awesome first watch. I know you've seen it too, right?
I don't think I have, to be honest.
Really?
I don't think I've seen it.
It's got you with 4 stars.
Okay, then yes, I have. Keep in mind, I've watched over 700 movies this year, so
Yeah. Not that you'll remember everything, but
yeah.
yeah.
I probably watched it for Chasing Labels.
Sure. Yeah.
Just because that's probably what I would have done. I believe it's probably a partner labels release or something of that vein.
I believe so. Yeah.
And it's a Finnish film, so it is in Finnish. Which obviously from the country of Finland.
Yeah.
Interesting. For me, I guess I'm going backwards here. No, I'm bouncing around. One of the biggest discoveries for me and something I had put off for so long was watching John Sayles' film Lone Star.
Yeah.
Lone Star is a incredible movie. Like the screenplay specifically is so good in it that I no doubt they study it in film school. Like just the way in which it's layered and the story is structured and all that kind of stuff. It's really fantastic. Like for me, I gave it like 5 stars on Letterboxd. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
It's So what happens is the sheriff ends up discovering the dead body of the previous sheriff in this small town. Oh, gee, in the West, I forgot where it is, but the movie stars Chris Cooper, Matthew McConaughey's in it briefly, Chris Christopherson, Joe Morton, Francis McDormand, Stephen Lang is in the movie, and this, unearthing this corpse of this previous sheriff ends up setting off a chain reaction of plot lines that end up intersecting within all of these people within this small town. Like it brings up past connections that go right to their present, and the way in which the movie, you know, tells all of these storylines and lays all of these out and the connections is so good that you don't end up getting lost while watching it. That's why I really love the movie a lot. I'm becoming a big fan of John Sayles. So that is the Lone Star from '96. Check it out if you haven't yet.
Awesome. I know you'll like this one, and I know you've seen this one. 1991's Dogfight was the first time watch for me. That came out by the Criterion Collection. That is a Nancy Savaca film, starring River Phoenix, and essentially, kind of like Before Sunrise, has a Before Sunriseness to it, where he goes on a date with this girl who's supposed to be like the ugly girl in the town, and ends up kind of liking her by the time the date's over with, but then he goes off to the war, and so then it's one of the movies. I loved it so much when it ended. I was like, God damn it, I need more of this. How it ends, man. It's you fall in love with the characters, and when you want to see them together, and then it's you want more. You want so much more.
It's the night in the life of these two people who just happen to meet one another and have a very powerful connection.
Yeah.
It's like Brief Encounter or Before Sunrise. It's that similar type of premise. But what's interesting, what Steven says, like it starts off rather malicious because all of these soldiers are on leave and they're playing this dogfight game where they're trying to find, to them, what is the most unattractive woman, and I guess like the one who finds the worst one wins like this pool of money or something.
Yeah.
And it's River Phoenix, Lily Tomlin, I believe, is in the movie.
Lily Tomlin.
And it's a really great movie that I discovered myself. And then once Criterion gave it a Blu-ray release, I was ecstatic about that. But yeah, that's a good pick, Steven. I really like that.
Well, I mean, it's
Lily Taylor, not Lily Tomlin. Sorry, okay. I wanted to look that up because I always get them confused.
Well, I mean, I watched it for the first time and had to put it on here.
Nice.
Go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, so my next one is actually one I just watched about a week ago or a week and a half ago or so. And that's this movie called Close Your Eyes. It's getting a Blu-ray release from, I think, Film Movement or Film Movement Classics. And it's a more modern film. It's from 2023. And I talked about it in the most recent episode of Chasing Labels, but it's about this kind of mystery of the disappearance of this actor while making a movie. And this director is going back and kind of revisiting all of the circumstances around it. It's like 20 or so years later, and this kind of like Unsolved Mysteries TV show is bringing like this story back up. Like, oh, this actor just mysteriously disappeared in the middle of shooting this movie. These are his last scenes that he ever shot, and then he just disappeared into the ocean, and nobody ever found him or found his body ever again. So they're interviewing this director who it was his film, and it was the last film that he ever worked on. And this brings up all kinds of like past circumstances around the making of that movie, the relationship he had with that actor and people around him at the time. And it's a movie very much how that's the MacGuffin of the movie, but it's more so about this character of this director taking stock of his life. You know what I mean? It's one of those types of movies. And I compared it to, it gave me the same vibes as Cinema Paradiso. And I said that on the show, and I was like, while it's not quite exactly like Cinema Paradiso, there's an element of the movie that leads me to make that connection. I don't want to say what it is, but there's something about the power of movies and how ingrained it is in our past, and it could dictate our future and our present and all kinds of stuff. It's a really astonishingly great movie that I didn't know anything about. It's called Close Your Eyes. Yeah, highly recommend that movie. There are still copies available at vinegarsyndrome.com.
Awesome. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to get around to that one. One that I know we both seen and probably both enjoyed. Speaking of Richard Linklater, Hitman. Hitman, starring Glenn Powell as this. Was he a teacher by day? And then he was doing jobs for it was like CIA. It wasn't CIA. It was like local. Was it local cops?
I think it was like local police. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing undercover jobs for local police or something like that. And it might have been government. I can't remember. But he does these undercover jobs where he has to play different characters and pretend to be a hitman to catch these people, in the act of trying to pay a hitman to kill other people. So getting people for conspiracy to commit murder, basically.
Yeah. The sting operation, if you will.
Yeah. So and it's played as a comedy, and Linklater. It's a great him. And we got to see more Glenn Powell, Richard Linklater. Of course, he played a role in Everybody Wants Some, which he's really great in that as well. But we need more of them two pairing up because it's gold. So
very good. It is very good. Good kind of screenplay he had going on there. For me, another one that is actually, I guess I'll go, since Stephen went with a new movie, I'll go with a new movie as well. That's the movie Sing Sing. This is the movie that stars Coleman Domingo, and it actually has a real life inmates, prisoners, who also play other characters within the movie. So this movie is about a guy who he's incarcerated in a prison that for a crime he didn't commit, and he's trying to work his way through the system to get out, like prove his innocence and all that kind of stuff. But while he's in there, he basically runs or is the lead of this acting theater group in there where they put on plays all the time, and he's kind of like the lead actor of it all. They get somebody else to come in and be the director and kind of run everything, but he's kind of the leader of this group, and he's the one who kind of advocates for it, tries to get the funding for it and whatnot. And it's a movie that it's not dealing with things we haven't seen before in these prison type of movies, but it humanizes groups of people that seem to be dehumanized a lot within our culture and our society, people incarcerated and stuff like that. But Coleman Domingo is amazing in this movie. I mean, he's quite astonishing. And there's another actor, I think it's Clarence Macklin, who plays himself, and he's another one who's another inmate who is very he doesn't really care whether he ever gets out or anything like that. He's got a lot of troubled past life and stuff like that. They don't touch on it a lot, but you get the sense of a rough past that he's had, and trying to look for a sense of redemption is a big thing within this movie. It's all acting, and it's all acting from relatively non-actors, people who've only really acted within a theater group within prison, and they're amazing in the movie. They're fantastic. So really good movie called Sing Sing. It got a small theatrical release early this year, and hopefully it gets a re-release for the award season thing that's going on now. But if it doesn't, it would be quite a shame. I think A24 put it out. I feel like it's an A24 film.
Yeah, I think
it's their vibe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I've heard of that one. I did hear it was pretty good. I'm going to one that was released by, I believe, Vinegar Syndrome earlier this year. Saul Bass's Phase 4.
Nice.
Is a fun one, man. It was the first I'd heard about the film for years, but I finally got a chance to watch it with this release, and wasn't disappointed. It's a fun creature feature type of film, where you got ants that have basically, start becoming very violent towards people. And there's, so it's got this sci-fi element to it. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed how serious the movie was. It's almost like a, the movie's not bad. I think the movie's well made, But Saul Bass this was his movie. I believe this is the only movie he made.
Yeah, it's the only one he ever directed.
But you know him because he does the titles. He does titles for films, and so this was the only film he directed, and really well done. It's really well done for the type of film it is, and I just like how serious it is. It's a cool creature feature, and it's got some great moments in it, and I love the poster. It's got like the hand. It's got like a hole in the hand from where the ant ate its way through.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a movie where these two scientists are basically
held up on like a farm.
Yeah, they're in the middle of like nowhere, and they're kind of running experiments and stuff like that. Yeah. And there are these super intelligent ants that are kind of maneuvering. They're making moves, and they're making moves.
Yeah.
And the way in which Saul Bass shoots it is kind of just like close-ups of ants. Yeah. And there's just like tons of them. And things when it comes to scientific experiments in the middle of nowhere, things are going to go a little crazy, as the case always tends to be. For me, another one here, I guess I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to whip this out right now. One of my favorite movies of the year is The Substance.
On my list too.
Yeah. I thought I would bring that out now, but so The Substance is a movie from this year. Came out. When did I watch it? I think I watched it back in September. Okay, so I was gonna say earlier this year.
I just recently watched it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid is in the movie.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I didn't think he had that performance in him ever.
He's got to get a nomination for this.
I didn't think
it's so scummy.
So Dennis Quaid has been kind of doing like those like God is Not Dead movies now, like those the Christian movies for like the longest time, and I guess that's the only work he cares about doing. But
that and Reagan.
Yeah, that and Reagan, which might as well be a Christian movie at this point. But in this movie, he is disgusting. Dude, he's got an eating scene in this movie that rivals Denethor in Lord of the Rings in terms of like disgustingness of like food flying everywhere. Yeah. And he's like a scumbag agent guy, isn't he? He's like an agent.
Yeah, he's like a head of the studio.
Or it's like a studio producer or something.
Yeah, producer.
Anywho, like the movie is very much not subtle in terms of the satire within it. Like Dennis Quaid plays like this Hollywood-esque
it's all about Eve. Asshole. It's all about Eve, but Cronenberg.
Very much. It's like Cronenberg meets All About Eve. Yeah. And this movie's like a Cronenberg wet dream in terms of body horror. So you've got Demi Moore, who's this kind of older, like famous actress who is, she's past her prime, at least past her prime in terms of Hollywood, in terms of her career. And she comes across this thing called The Substance. It's just called The Substance, this green stuff. It looks like the stuff from Reanimator. And she takes it, and a young, hot version of herself is born. I don't want to say anything else of how that happens, other than you can imagine something a la Cronenberg's The Fly, or even Videodrome. It's Existence. It's in that realm of gooiness. Yeah. And the whole movie is kind of a satire of like fame and like all this kind of stuff, and also about vanity and insecurities and all this kinds of things, and it goes for it. Like, it doesn't hold back in terms of its visuals, in terms of its boldness in filmmaking. It's a brilliant movie. Not for everyone though. If you're squeamish, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yes, squeamish. It has a lot of nudity in it, so it's not like if you're not into nudity, and don't watch it. It's not really a watch with your girlfriend movie,
It's not really, yeah. If you're gonna watch it with somebody, they have to be like-minded as you.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching like Blue Velvet with friends. You gotta have a good.
That's a certain
friend
type.
Group. It's a certain type of friend you gotta watch that movie with.
Yeah. For
sure. So, Stephen, what's your next one?
One I know you're familiar with as well. It was the first time I did it on this show. Bittersweet Life.
Yes.
Korean film, kind of a gangster, kind of action, a little bit action type of film. I recently did, I think it was a couple episodes ago on this show, and just thought it was just really solid, well done, kind of neo-noir that was awesome. Yeah, I just talked about it, I think, on the noir episode. So that was 2 episodes ago. So, or was that? No, that was last month. I just did it. Did I just do it?
Yeah, the noir one. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
I just did
it's a
it.
neo noir.
So I just talked about it. Go watch that episode. It's awesome. Yeah.
So my next pick is going to be a movie from 2003 called Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring.
Wow.
This movie, I think, was it another release from Film Movement from the partner labels of Vinegar Syndrome? I believe it was.
I don't do this show anymore.
And it actually I could look that up right now, but I'll do it while I'm talking. And this is a movie told in very much in an anthology, where we are following this young man, kind of loosely following, who is he's initially training to be a monk. So it takes place in this isolated lake in the middle of the mountains. So it's an isolated lake where an old monk lives in a small floating temple. Yeah, the temple floats on this lake, and there's like a young boy who's his like apprentice. And what we see is the kind of journey that this apprentice takes. Whereas, he starts out like a little kid in the spring, and then he moves on to a teenager in the summer part. And then in the fall part, he's an adult. Winter, he is an older adult. And then the spring, the cycle kind of starts all over again with another apprentice. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like to quote Lion King here, the circle of life. But it's done so in these in these kind of anthology segments of this movie. Really great film, like incredible movie. It's directed by Kim Ki-duk, and I believe it is from the partner label Film Movement. Let me check. I just want to make sure I'm not losing my mind here. But yeah, it's a really, really great movie. I would definitely recommend it. But once again, it's in kind of this pace of Ozu, where he is very patient when it comes to filmmaking. No real frills. There's not a lot of plot going on. You're kind of just watching people like live their lives. But there's certain themes that it's hitting on. Certain themes of life and the growing of life and things like that. The passage of life, I should say. I can't find where this release is from. But anywho.
Okay. One that we're both also familiar with, I think, Singapore Sling.
Nice.
Another Vinegar Syndrome release. This is exploitation, if it sexploitation, really. If there ever was a movie, where this woman's looking for her husband who's been murdered by these 2 crazy women in this tight, very sticky, wet. I believe it's in New Orleans. It's what it seems like. It seems like they're in New Orleans. But they're in Singapore, I guess.
Yes, kind of. What a movie!
It's hard to describe this.
So what happens is this
psychosexual.
I think this guy basically ends up getting captured by these women, and he never talks. And all they find on him to kind of identify him is, I believe, the recipe for the cocktail Singapore Sling. So they refer to him as that. And these 2 women are pretty messed up. They sexually torture this man, as well as physically torture him. It's not a movie for everyone. But my goodness, is it bold?
It's artsy, like an artsy noir, psychosexual, weird movie.
Very much.
Like it's unique and it's interesting, and it's fucking photographed amazingly in black and white.
It's in black and white. Stunning cinematography.
Yeah.
I did find out where Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring is from. It's being put out by Imprint in February. No, Umbrella in February. That's what it was. But yeah, Singapore Sling it's a controversial film for many reasons, because of how graphic it is and how unflinchingly graphic it is. It reminded me a lot of I Saw the Devil in that sense of graphicness.
Yeah.
Not quite as harsh as that, if you know what I'm saying, but still it has that level of physical, uncomfortable violence in it.
And that might only be because it's in black and white.
Could be.
If it was in color, it might be as uncomfortable as I saw the devil.
It could be something, but it feels like along those lines of those types of movies. I'm thinking of like Ichi the Killer. I'm thinking of Old Boy. I'm thinking of those types of movies. Like it gave me that type of irkiness vibe to it. Good pick, Steven. Good pick. I bought that on Black Friday, the Black Friday sale at Vinegar Syndrome. So I need to get. I can't wait till that comes in. I got to get it soon. For me, the next one is a newish film. By new, I mean it came out this year. This is an underrated film. I don't see many people talking about it, and it's called Touch. This movie is really, really good. It's another movie dealing with time, Steven. You know how much I love time. So this is a movie that is soon after the break of the pandemic and realizing that his clock is ticking, Christopher gets the urge to embark on a journey to try to find out what really happened when his Japanese girlfriend mysteriously vanished without a trace from London 50 years later. So this movie takes place in two different timelines. You got the modern timeline, which is at the very outbreak of COVID. So like think early, mid 2020. And then it flashes back to 50 years earlier. So we're dealing with like what would that make it, like the 60s or 70s if I'm thinking timeline wise, is you've got this young man who falls in love with this young Japanese woman whose father runs this restaurant and he works in it. And then one day, basically, her family ups and leaves, and he just like never sees her again. It's another one of those things we were just talking about, this kind of passion and love at first sight, at first meeting, those initial things of just, having this je ne sais quoi feeling of love. But then losing that over 50 years and then realizing that maybe your life is not going to be around for much longer. You know what I mean? You're towards the tail end of your life and you kind of wonder about the unknown. You know what I mean? You wonder what ifs. Stop playing their games in your head. You know what I mean? Like what if I stayed with this woman or we stayed together? What is she doing now? Is she still alive? Where is she? How do I go about tracking this person down? And meanwhile, the whole world is also kind of shutting down. So that adds a little wrinkle to it. But it's a movie called Touch. I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good.
Awesome. First I thought you were going to talk about the Paul Schrader Touch.
No, that's a coincidence. That's another movie I bought on Black Friday that I'm waiting to come in the mail.
Well, I'm going to take it to the road. And what I mean by that, I mean Roadkill, which is I believe Canadian International Pictures put it out.
Yes, they did.
And this was a film about this woman who works for this music record company who is sent out into the field because a band that they have that's on tour is not quite doing their tour dates like they're supposed to. So she's got to go out there and wrangle this band together. And along the way, it's kind of a road trip misadventure, run into weirdos along the way type of movie. Very low budget, very indie. Love it. It's a cool movie. And it's also got some kind of like, surreal sensationalism that's in there. That kind of, it ends on a certain note that really kind of puts a point on what the film's trying to say. So it's in black and white, really fun movie. It's got some good music in there too. At the end, you get to see the band play, and there's some good music in there. Loved Roadkill.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully you're keeping track of how many we're talking about here.
Well, I got 2 more I'm going to mention.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I am not keeping track at all. I'm just riffing off of nothingness. But I'm going to pull a page here from Steven and talk about one of his favorite directors, and that is Hirokazu Koreeda, who had a movie that came out last year called Monster, which is a monster of a good movie. Like the way I work that in there. So this movie, the premise is when a young boy begins behaving strangely, shocking truths emerge as the story unfolds through the eyes of his single mother, a teacher who is believed to be responsible, and the child himself. So what we've got here is a movie centered around the stresses of being a parent. The stresses of being a parent. Specifically, if their child may or may not have done something pretty serious. You know what I mean? Or maybe responsible for something really serious, or may know something about something that happened that is very serious. And what stresses and lengths you go through as a parent to protect your child, figure out the truth. If the truth is more than what you thought it is, what do you do then? Once again, Hirokazu Koreeda is one of the best, probably modern filmmakers we have. And
similar to Ozu as well.
Yeah, very similar to Ozu in that he is very patient with this filmmaking. I'm thinking of Still Waiting and how good that movie is and how patient that movie is and what that movie is getting into. Talk about familial themes. I mean, heck, this movie is also dealing with familial themes as well. I haven't seen Afterlife yet.
Dude,
I have the Blu-ray. It's over there.
watch that damn movie.
Yeah, that's one that I was saving for like an unwatched pile, but I don't know if I'm gonna have to.
That needs to be the next unwatched pile.
I think it may be.
Do it.
Yeah, because I definitely have not seen Afterlife yet. And I've heard people talk about it so much. I've heard Steven talk about it a million times.
Yes, you're going to love that movie.
And I'm probably end up going to love that movie.
You are.
But this movie, like I said, is called Monster and is dealing with like a lot of those things. It is very, very good.
He's one of our best modern filmmakers for sure.
Yeah, and I don't even think Monster has. You know what's crazy? We're saying that, yet his work over the last several years doesn't see the light of day in physical media form. It's
well, it does, but a lot of it comes. I think Curzon has put out a lot of their Blu-rays overseas.
Yeah,
but no U.S. Not a lot of U.S. releases.
Okay, so this did get a U.S. release by Wellgo USA.
Okay,
I think that's why I had to watch it because back in April they put it out on Blu-ray.
All right.
I think that's why I had to watch it.
All right, real quickly, we need to get these last couple out.
So I have one left. You have two left. Is that
okay? Sure. Go ahead and do your, or whichever way. Serial Mom. John Waters' Serial Mom finally got around to it. It was on Netflix. I was like, fuck it. And I was sick with COVID. I had COVID. I was like, I'm gonna finally watch it. Awesome. So I finally got around to it. Love it. God, it's just such a good time. And that's a more accessible John Waters movie for sure.
Yeah, I mentioned it on the podcast this week where like this and Hairspray and maybe Crybaby are probably maybe his most accessible movies.
Yeah. But it's such a fun movie. It's, 1950s family where the mom just starts killing people, man. And,
it's like what happens if like June Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver becomes a serial killer?
Yeah,
that's kind of the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
Great cast in there. You've got Matthew Lillard is the son, Ricky Lake, Sam Waterston, Kathleen Turner is the mom who does all that. Great one-liners in that movie. One-liners.
It's great. All right, go ahead with your last pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Perfect Days. Perfect Days, which is a good place to end on. It's one of Wim Wenders' most recent films. Came out last year. There's a Criterion Blu-ray of it, and this movie is stunningly perfect. Talk about Ozu. This is Wim Wenders making an Ozu film in modern times. Basically, it's about this man who, in I believe Tokyo, Japan, or in Japan, cleans these lavish public restrooms. Like these restrooms are impeccably clean, modern one. They're modern ones, not like the ones we see here, which are awful. These are just incredibly clean. Apparently, there is a whole government program in Japan to make public spaces like nice and clean, specifically public restrooms. So this man does this like every day, and he's got a routine. He does things a certain way in his life, and he does things in a certain way. He takes the same day off every year, goes to the same restaurant, eats the same meal, talks to the same people. He's set in his ways in life. These are his perfect days. You know what I mean? Until one day, his niece, like a kind of an estranged niece, appears, and she decides to stay with him, and it kind of wrinkles his life up a bit. But he's got to kind of adjust to it, and you kind of learn a lot of things about him, how he's estranged from his sister, and all those kinds of things. But it is a damn near perfect movie called Perfect Days from Wim Wenders. One of my favorite movies from last year.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Wenders he's always got some good stuff.
He's like an Ozu disciple.
Yeah.
Really is. I think he met Ozu and was kind of like a protege of him. Because I feel like a lot of his, at least modern work, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last one I want to bring up is one I just recently talked about on a recent video I did for the Imprint review, film reviews that I did. It's a Roman Polanski film called Bitter Moon. Peter Cody is kind of the lead in that film. Hugh Grant's in it as well. And I believe Roman Polanski's wife, eventual wife, I think her name's Emmanuel something. I can't remember her last name. But so it's a film about Hugh Grant has his fiance. They go on this cruise, and on the cruise he meets this guy who's in a wheelchair, who is married to this other woman that Hugh Grant's been kind of looking at like he's interested in her, even though he's got a fiance. And so Peter Cody's like, I caught you looking at my wife. You can have her if you want, but before I let you have her, let me tell you the story of our life, our love life. So it's kind of, it goes back and forth in time. You get to see the kind of the love story of Peter Cody and this woman, and it's not a love story. It's a fucking hellfire story. It's a bad love story. Just put it that way. And it's, this is the early 90s when this came out in 1991. So this was the time when all the big, sex thrillers were coming out, whether it's, Basic Instinct. It's in that vein.
Like, it reminds me of Indecent Proposal.
Yeah. It's got more of a vastness to it because it feels more sprawling because of how the storytelling is. And Polanski really, his films always kind of have a little bit of a sexual charge to them, in some way. And so it's probably his best work of the 90s. I got the box set. He did a few films in the 90s. It's probably his best work. Emmanuel, thank you, Har Honey. Emmanuel Burt, or Bert. It's really underrated. I don't really feel like I hear a lot of people talk about Bitter Moon, as a high up there Roman Polanski film. So, that's probably my most recent new watch. So, other than Arcadian, but that's it. That's all we got. Andrew apparently could have kept going, but that's really all I got because I don't get to watch as many movies these days. But that's it, guys. That's the calendar year of Chasing Labels. I'm glad I was able to end the year with you, Andrew.
Oh, same here.
Yeah. So, but we will start the new year together as well. We'll be back, as we said earlier, to do our favorite physical media release of 2024. And then, of course, Chasing Labels will be back up. Andrew will be back with catching up. Probably not as much release information during the holidays. It does shut down a little bit.
You would be surprised, Stephen. You would be surprised. Apparently, nobody takes time off.
Well, the first of the year, you're going to get your Vinegar Syndrome. But otherwise, it should be a little bit slower, probably.
Yeah, there's already some announcements that have happened between last week and this week that I've got to make sure to keep my tabs on. And then, of course, whatever comes out over the next 2 weeks or so. And then, of course, the big dump, like you said, of Vinegar Syndrome on the 1st, which they already announced that they're going to be doing. And then, of course, they'll be opening up their website back up to putting all their releases on there. And then I think they'll also be starting, don't they do like their subscriber week stuff?
The new subscriber thing for the year, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be kicking that off. So there'll be sales there. But yeah, I'm very interested in what we will have for our next video together of our favorite releases of the year.
Yeah, me too.
There's just a lot running through my head.
Yeah, I gotta figure out what was actually released this year.
That'll be important. That'll be important
to make sure it's right. But thanks everybody who stuck with us. Thanks everybody that listens to this in the future. Of course, subscribe to Chasing Labels, whether it's on the YouTube channel or the audio, which is either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Of course, come back every month to watch another Unwatched pile. Hopefully we'll have a guest join us that next time when Andrew watches Afterlife and talks about it, because that's what he's going to do, because he needs to fucking watch that movie.
Yeah, make sure you pick a theme that deals with it so I can watch it.
There is no theme. Just watch the damn movie. They don't have to be a theme, Andrew.
I meant for Unwatched pile.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need a theme. You just need to watch the damn movie.
That's true.
We don't need to have, because then it would have to be movies about film.
The afterlife.
Or movies about the afterlife, But so please do that. Please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever the fuck it's called these days. And with that said, have a happy holidays. Thank you, Horror Honey, for telling us. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the holiday shout out. And hey, please watch some Christmas movies, whatever it is. Get the hell out of here. Watch it. Go home. See you next year.
Goodbye.